So I say stand in your confidence, stand in your purpose, whatever it may be, and go talk to these people who are making decisions about our lives on a daily basis. I tell people this all the time. Our local politicians, this shit's more important right now than what's happening in DC, right? Because they are dictating who gets the new roads. Right. They're dictating where the new street lights go. They're dictating if there's a bike lane or a fixed fucking sidewalk for your kids to ride on the damn sidewalk, you know what I'm saying, with their bikes. Those are the people who are making those decisions. And it could be a small thing like, hey, this 4-block section of road in this area hasn't been fixed in 20 years. Right. And we don't have a working street light on these blocks. Can we get that?
Hey guys, what's good? And welcome to the COSIGN Life. If you're watching this video, that means you co-sign us and we co-sign you. So here are a couple of ways to support us at COSIGN Magazine. Number 1, view the description below, click the link, and purchase an issue of COSIGN Magazine. Just like this one right here, physical. You can purchase this. Number 2, you can also support us by purchasing COSIGN merch. Hit the link below and it'll take you to all our past merch items, and we'd love to have your support and see you wear COSIGN Magazine. What's good, world? Welcome back to another episode of COSIGN Conversations. Today we have my guy Scottie Smith of Scottie Smith Associates, serial entrepreneur, real estate investor. Matter of fact, all things real estate, man. How you doing today, brother?
Good, man.
Man, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, man, I'm excited.
Thank you, man. So we met a while ago, bro. Love what you're doing. Love what you're doing in the community, South Dallas, man.
Are you gonna tell the people how we met? And our conversation that started,
let's start with that. I'm trying to actually figure out how we did meet. Like I remember I used to do some things at your spot every Tuesday.
Yeah, the think tank. Yeah,
the think tank every Tuesday. But at this time I was living in Mansfield, Arlington, so it was hard for me to come to them, bro. But I think the first time we actually met was at Brandon's.
The wine tasting.
What was it called? The conglomerate, or what was it called?
Yeah, the conglomerate. Yeah. No, that was that's really when we connected.
Yeah, that's when we connected.
You know, we did meet at the think tank. I think you came to maybe one of them or something like that I remember staying around for.
Right.
And then we had to, of course I started following. I'm like, yo, I like this content, I like what they're doing. For sure. Then we really had an opportunity to kind of, build and connect at the conglomerate wine tasting.
Exactly, more on a personal level.
Yeah.
Can't tell y'all the story of how the wine tasting went. Just know they was on your boy. It was on me for my wine selection of choice for the evening.
Right.
But it came with a great story, man. And then we've been tapped in and been talking about doing this for a minute, and now we're here, man.
Yeah.
But even as somebody who's followed you, bro, and admire what you're doing, there's still so many layers to you.
Yeah.
Still so many things I don't know. So I'm excited because I'm coming from a place of curiosity today. Yeah. So if you don't mind, brother, I would like to start from the beginning. You know what I'm
man. It's so funny because we were talking about this earlier, but I've been meaning to really make it a point to tell the story of what I've been doing.
Right.
And I'm not good at that. I'm really from the school of let your work speak for itself, right? But in a world where social media can paint a different picture, right? And so if it's not on social media, a lot of people think it doesn't exist,
it didn't
right?
happen. Yeah.
And so shout out to everybody that's transitioning to this whole metaverse because they're gonna win,
Yeah.
But the stuff that's happening in real life, it takes time and it takes energy and it takes brain power, so much so that I oftentimes forget to post it, what I mean? And by the time it's something that you should be captured, I'm just like, damn, I'm really excited that we're done with this.
Right.
Let these people get what they need to get, move them in, let's go to the next one.
But some of the most successful people, bro, aren't actually on social media. And that's crazy, you know what I'm saying? But you have this, the generation who wants to show every move.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes from a place of seeking validation.
Right.
But, when you're actually building and creating and, doing the hard work, it's not about validation because you know what you're accomplishing, you know what you're doing, so you don't always look to immediately post. But on the other side, it could be inspiring
motivating to show that side, to show that story. Because you're originally from Dallas, right?
I'm originally from Houston.
From Houston, okay.
And this is one of the reasons why I'm really excited to be here, because I started this real estate journey when I was 18 years old, man.
Oh, wow.
So I came up here to the North Texas area when I was 18 in 05, and just far enough from Houston where, I could have some freedom, but still close enough where I can go back and get a hot meal and my clothes washed by my mom and all that type of stuff. But I came up here in my first year at UNT, University of North Texas. Shout out to the Mean Green. But my first year, I took a class in real estate. I came up to North Texas to be an accountant. Right? I want to be, I want to work for the Big Four, and make partner one day and take over the accounting world, right? But my teacher John Bain, Dr. John Bain, I took one of his classes, man, and it was kind of this whimsical, just real nutty professor type situation. And he walked in. It's really like the first day of class, and he had like all of his papers, like. I'm like, dude, what?
It was a mess.
Right, it was a mess. And he slapped the stuff down and not hello class, welcome to Real Estate 101. Like all the rest of the teachers for freshmen.
Right.
But his first words to the class of about 150, almost 200 people: if you don't own real estate by the end of this class, you didn't learn shit, and I ain't teach you shit.
Dang.
And I said, I'm like, dude, if I go home today, I still got a curfew in my mama's house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you want us to own some real estate by the end of this semester? Bro, this is wild. So
it's like 4 months, 4 or 5 months. Yeah.
So it ended up being one of the most life-changing and dynamic classes that I'd ever taken in my life, bro. And so I didn't own anything by the end of that semester, but by the end of the next semester, I had bought my first property at the age of 19. And so I couldn't even go and celebrate that win at the bars because I wasn't old enough, right? And so I bought my first house. I rented it out to some people that I knew from school. And so, like, that was my first intro. I was still staying in the apartments, you know what I'm saying? And I had a house, and people didn't understand that.
Okay, let's unpack this right here. This is what I love about this conversation. So, 19, you bought your first property. I'm pretty sure that you had financial aid or took out student loans to go to school?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So at that age, how do you even get the finance to buy your first property? What did you do to get the down payment? How'd you find a property? Walk us through that whole process at 19.
Yeah, so that was really dope. So I was before I became the Bruhs, Omega Psi Phi, I was in a business fraternity, Alpha Kappa Psi. And one of the members of that organization was a bank manager, and she hired me as a bank manager. And she pretty much was like, hey, you can't have my job. Which job do you want? I was like, what's the highest paying right now? Right? So it was about $17 an hour. But that's not really where I made, my down payment. I did this business plan competition called the Murphy Enterprise Business Plan Competition. And my whole idea of really just kind of changing the community and revitalizing the communities that have been oftentimes looked over, it started there.
So you on early.
Yeah, I started early. But what happened was I didn't win. I didn't win. The first place prize was 50 grand, second place prize was 25 grand, and third place prize was 15,000.
You didn't win.
And I didn't win.
Didn't place at all,
But they were so impressed by what I wanted to do that they essentially made a scholarship for me. And I ended up getting a $10,000 scholarship. And that scholarship money helped me with my down payment. And so I had a job, right? And in that time, 06, 07. So I had a job, and I had the down payment assistance, from my scholarship. And so those two things back then, you had a pulse, you could walk into a bank and get a loan. So that's how I was able to do it.
And where was the first property you purchased at?
1201 Paco Trail. I'll never forget that. Denton, Texas.
Oh, it was in Denton?
Denton, Texas, 76209.
Do you still have it?
So I actually sold that property in 2015 when I started the stuff for South Dallas, all the redevelopment. So I sold my entire portfolio because that's how I was bought in. I was like, I'm finna do this. Everything gotta go. So yeah.
Okay, man, it's a lot to unpack. Okay, let's not skip that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's that whole thing was it was pretty dope, man, from you know, just kind of inception to close, because I'm like, dude, like I barely got a bank account. Like I'm just now getting, I didn't have no credit cards. Like it was interesting.
Right.
But the story gets better because what opened up from there is, you know, that was my first property. I bought a rental, and then I just started really digging into it. And then, you know, about a year, 6 months to a year later, I bought, you know, I did a wholesale deal, grabbed something from an auction and sold it to this Asian guy, and I made $35,000 on that one. And then after that, I took
1920.
Yeah, after that, I took what I had there and bought a flip in Irving. And so before I was 21, I had essentially bought and sold 3 properties. Well, bought 3 properties, sold 2, you know, sold one and had one for a rental. And the one in Irving was my first big flip.
Okay.
And it was at the end of 2007, I finished the property. It was December of 2007.
Okay.
I finished the property, it was beautiful, had a contract to close on it. And then from December 31st to like January 1st, it's like the weirdest thing. The contract got canceled because the bank couldn't lend them any money. That was the start of the dang, you know, the financial, downfall, right? The recession hit. And so essentially, I didn't lose, but I didn't really win. Right. It was like, I think I walked away with like $200. Like, so we just called it break even, yeah.
For the flip?
After the flip, yeah.
Wow.
It was a situation where, you know, had I been able to close that just 30 days earlier, it'd have been a massive win. But because the Great Recession kind of ushered its way in, you know, shoot, man, I was happy to be.
But at this time, were you were already making passive income from the one you're in, right? Yep. So you're profiting some off that. Yep. You got the wholesale. You made $35K, so that deal didn't go well. Yep. And then the recession hits. Yep. So how did you survive through that? You were still working at the bank? Yeah,
so I was still, you know, part-time at the bank, finishing up school. I ended up getting my real estate license then, right? And so the whole goal with that, I was still in school. The whole goal with that was to figure out a way to make a little bit of money, but also help some of my friends get rental properties that weren't on campus or near campus, that weren't considered a student housing, so we wouldn't get our party shut down. So that's really what the whole concept of that was. But, and when, you know, the recession hit, nobody was lending any money for, you know, investment properties like that. You just had to be cash heavy. And I was really still a kid, you know what I mean? And so I just kind of still made my way. I ended up changing my major from finance to, from accounting to finance with a minor in real estate, and just went from there.
So UNT offers degrees in real estate? I didn't know that. Yeah. So before we continue on the real estate journey, but let's talk about mindset real quick, because I've been 17, 18, 19 in college. Yeah. And a lot of us at that time aren't thinking, you know, as far as ahead that you're thinking. So what do you acute like your mindset to at that early of an age? Like, was that already instilled in you growing up, or where did all this come from? Because not everybody's thinking like that. Yeah,
so I'm from a huge family, man. It's my family is like the Black Brady Bunch, right? So when my mom and my stepdad met, they each had 3. Right, here's the story. Right? They each had 3, but then they had 4 together. And so we were a really large family. You know what I mean? And you can just imagine, my pops was a contractor, you know, no college education. My mom, you know, she went to UNT, she didn't finish. So, you know, her options were a little limited. So you can just imagine with such a large family, you know, just kind of the struggles that, and my parents did their best, right?
Gotcha.
They instilled hard work, you know, all the things necessary to really make good human beings.
Right.
We're a Christian family, but in high school I went to a performing arts high school in Houston, HSPVA, and seeing, you know, a different demographic of people outside of the hood, South Park that I was staying in, and seeing people's first cars being Mercedes-Benz and BMWs and foreigns, where mine was a GMC Safari Astro, man. You know what I mean? Which I loved. I flipped that like it was, you know, I took care of it. It was always clean, but
I had Mitsubishi Galant.
Right. And so I saw that, and I'm like, dang, what's going on? And then I took I took some, DJing stuff, right? So they had DJing classes at my school, and I did that. So I was the DJ. My cousin and I were the DJs for everybody's parties, black folks, white folks, Asian. And I DJ'd a party in the River Oaks area of Houston. That's in Dallas. It would be equivalent to Highland Park.
Okay.
And so I took a gig for one of the white girls, and I was DJing on the roof of this house, and it just messed me up, and I'm like, what the hell does your parents do?
Right.
You know what I mean? And she said her dad was an entrepreneur, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
is
what
that?
exactly does he do?
And so it was all that, and so that experience opened my mind up to something. And then when Robert Kiyosaki dropped his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I was in high school, and I was like, I thought football was gonna take me to where I needed to go, but I started reading this book. The librarian and I were really cool. And she said, you need to read this book. And I read that book, and I'm like,
Game changer.
Game changer. And so when I got to college, I came in with a mission.
Yeah.
Like, I'm finna use this for years, and I'm about to take my family to a brand new level.
Yeah.
And realistically, I came to North Texas to play football. I was a preferred walk-on. I was there during summer workouts. I thought that I was gonna make it to the NFL. But they had the scouts, the NFL scouts out there. I was 185, 190, running back, and practice. I'm talking about one of the practices, there was like 6 or 7 scouts out there, and first team defense was showing out. Hey man, dude hit me so hard, bro. I went and took my helmet off, sat on the sideline. I said, yeah, I'm about to really focus on this business stuff, man.
I had to do that to you.
And so with that, the Bible says there's life and death in what you speak. And so I started digging into that a little further. Okay, what you speak is really just, it's the vocalization of what you're thinking.
Right.
And then what you're thinking is really what's in your heart. And so I started doing a lot of mind work. I started doing a lot of, understanding about what it is you're focusing on, and your conscious, your subconscious, and what's called your metaconscious, thinking about what you're actually thinking about.
Right, yeah.
And so those are things that, I started really, really young, when I was in college, and I didn't have any time to waste because, my pops was sick, so he wasn't working. I wanted to figure out a way to retire my mom.
Right.
And, my siblings, my brother went to the Air Force, and everybody else, my brother went to Berkeley, but everybody else, we were just trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I made it up in my mind that I had to do this, and a big part of that was mindset. And so I spent a lot of time on that. I spent a lot of time on that.
That's amazing. And then I know discipline had to kick in.
Yeah.
Especially going to school, seeing all the distractions, things easily to take away. Like talk to us about discipline. Like one of my favorite quotes is discipline equals freedom. Yeah. Like no matter what aspect of your life that you want freedom, discipline, is the tool, the driving force to get you there. Yeah. Whether that's, a healthy body, you gotta stay in the gym. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's more money, you gotta put in the work. Yeah. So talk to us about the discipline you've had at that age, and then we'll kind of get back into it.
Man, it was, I'll say this, everybody has their vice, right? Yeah. And it's still a constant struggle right now, but even then, you got your own freedom. Yeah. You can still do whatever you want to do. And even at that time, like, you kind of get distracted. It's college, it's beautiful women, it's, parties and this and drinking and, but I think what separates people during those adolescent, youthful years is the people who have that goal in mind already versus the people who are still trying to figure it out. Because they use those opportunities in college to figure out stuff. Right. Whereas when I came in, I knew what it was. I was gonna take advantage of what it was. And so I treated college really like a job. Every single year of my college career, I had 8 o'clock classes. Okay. Every single year, it did not matter. Every single year, 8 o'clock classes, I was done with class by 12. Okay. Right, I was done with classes by 12. By the time 12 came around, I was studying until 5. right? And so from 12 to 5, I'm studying. After 5, I can do whatever I want to do.
Had that strict
I can go to the
schedule.
gym, I can go hang out, I can go, talk to the ladies. But that was my whole mindset. Like my entire mindset was treat this like the real world. This is my life right now. I'm gonna treat it as such. But also, I really, so I pledged too, you know what I mean? I pledged Omega Psi Phi in college. And a lot of that process helped me to understand discipline and what's important.
Okay.
And some things weren't important. And I had to learn to leave that stuff alone and focus on what was, because I didn't want, where a lot of my LBs, didn't necessarily cross with high GPAs, my GPA was a 3.1, 3.2 when I crossed, right? And it's because I had those 8 o'clock classes. I'm getting done at 12, where mostly everybody else is in class, just getting started. I had that freedom. And so in anything that you do, it's important to make certain that your goals and what your life mission is stays on the forefront of that.
Gotcha.
Because, folks might see me out and they might see and be like, oh, he's undisciplined, but you don't know what I got going on in the background, bro. You don't know what I did to even say that I deserve this night out, right? And so, that's pretty much how it started.
Man, that's a crazy backstory. So I would say 2015 is when you started like the initiative for South Dallas.
That's actually 2015 is exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, so walk us up to there. So before this, you're still doing the fix and flips. The recession happens. Things starting to bounce back. I want to say maybe 2011.
2012. Yeah.
So what were you doing in those 4 years in between till you really started to push for the initiative you're on right now?
Good. So the whole industry went to hell in a handbasket, right? Real estate was ridiculous. And so I took advantage of, the opportunities with my degree. And so I got a full scholarship from Ernst & Young to go to Notre Dame. I went to Notre Dame to get my master's degree in accounting.
Graduate school, okay.
And they paid for me to do that. They paid for my lodging up there. They paid for everything. I just had to work for them for a set number of years. And so my last kind of month with, at Notre Dame, I was studying for my real estate broker's exam. And so, I was already working on the plan that I wrote down back when I was a teenager, essentially.
So real quick, walk us through what is the brokerage, what does being a broker mean for people that don't know?
Okay, so a real estate broker, essentially, we are, I want to say, the gatekeepers for real estate, right? For real estate sales. We train, we teach, we hire agents to work on our behalf to help people realize the dream of home ownership. And so brokers are actually the business owner. So when you think about the large real estate brokerages, so the Keller Williams, the EXP, those are brokers or brokerages. So Scottie Smith Associates is a broker.
Gotcha.
And so I passed that exam, but during that time I was working as an auditor. And so for an accounting firm, one of the big 4 accounting firms, and appreciate that time because it gave me an opportunity to look at how business from a financial perspective is run. And shit, man, goddamn. I hated that shit. I hated every day. I knew what I wanted to do. I'm like, damn, I hope we need to get this goddamn economy back rolling so I can get up out of here. But that's what I was doing. 2011, I started Scottie Smith Associates, and then 2012, I essentially was full time. I had quit that and left it where it was. And
so you've been full time entrepreneur since 2012.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this. I'm pretty sure you get asked this a lot, but let's do it on camera. Why South Dallas?
That's a funny question. Let me tell you the true story of why South Dallas. I made a wrong turn. I literally made a wrong turn. I was coming from my office in Deep Ellum, and I was supposed to go Commerce Street, and I was trying to get to East Dallas, and I made a left on Malcolm X, and instead of I made a right on Malcolm X, and I should have been making a left. So instead of making this left and going right, I ended up on Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And if you know anything about those cross of intersections, there's only 4 or 5 intersections where Malcolm and Martin cross in the entire country. So I was intrigued by that. And so crossed over, and I'm like, where am I? And so I started driving around, and I'm looking, and there was nothing but vacancies. Nothing but vacant lots and rundown homes. And at that point, and this was about 2014, 2015, at that time, there was 80% of the real estate was vacant properties or vacant land or vacant properties.
Okay.
And so it was, when I see stuff like that, it was prime for redevelopment. Then I started looking at the demographics, the people around. It reminded me of South Park in Houston, where I grew up. And so with that being said, I just was like, yo, we need to figure out what's going on over here. So I started digging, and I realized that it was a lot like South Park in such that there was so much disinvestment from the city. Like the roads were shit, the sidewalks were shit, the amenities didn't exist. It was weird. The only thing that they did have, they had a brand new fire station. Okay. And they had a brand new middle school. And anytime I talk about redeveloping areas, I talk about three things. If there's a new school, if there's new city amenities, and if there's any road plans, infrastructure plans. Those are the three key things for gentrifying areas, because they're not building that for the current resident, they're building that for the residents that's gonna be here 15, 20 years from now.
So how do you find the third part, right? If somebody's looking to an area, like I'm from Killeen. Okay. And I see that Killeen is growing out. Where do you find information? Okay, they're working on the streets, the roads, and building in this area.
You got to look at the bond packages, right? Okay. And that really just means hopping over to the city, the city's websites, city council agenda, and see, because they got to post bond notices, right? That says, hey, we're trying to sell bonds for this. Essentially, we're paying for that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And that's debt that the city is taking on. So we're going to sell bonds, get a bunch of money, and these bonds are going to cover roads, new schools, new whatever. You know what I mean? So
can anybody get into bonds?
Nah, that's yes and no, but that's a different story. So bonds, for the most part, and they're government bonds, right? So government paper, right? Okay. So when you like, I'm gonna go buy some bonds for my kid to put, stocks and bonds, all that shit. You're just essentially buying. You're being a debt holder, right? Okay. So you go buy that money. They say we're gonna pay you back with this kind of interest, right? Okay. So you become a lender.
So you take the wrong turn, end up in South Dallas. You see the school, the fire station, yeah. And you find out about the rebuilding of the roads and stuff. And then what do you act upon next?
Shoot, I start figuring out how I can buy as much stuff. So what I end up doing is I found out that a lot of these lots were extremely cheap.
Okay. How cheap at that time?
Man, shit. I bought one of my lots for $1,000. I bought one of my lots for $500. I bought the lot that I built my house on for $7,500. And I got probably one of the best views of downtown from South Dallas.
And that's 2014?
Yeah, that's 2015 at that point, yeah.
So if somebody was to try to buy a lot in South Dallas right now, how much are they going for?
Oh, you're not gonna find anything in South Dallas for less than $45,000, $50,000.
Is it still a good investment?
Yeah, because it just started. You know what I mean? It really just started. And in 2015, when I saw all of this available, and I started thinking about and really diving into the history of Dallas, like all of the areas around downtown Dallas were originally black areas, right? So you got the Uptown area, which was a freedmen's town. You got State Thomas, which was a freedman town. You got Oak Cliff right there, where they call them Bishop Arts. That was black folks. Even some of, West Dallas was black and brown people, right? And so the only area, when you think about the core of the city, that was available and still close. I'm 6 minutes from my door to, my old office on Commerce Street. I'm 6 minutes from downtown, right? That's the only area that was untouched, untapped, and available. And so it was in my mind, it was two things that needed to happen, right? We need to redevelop this area quickly, and we needed to make certain that black folks were a part of that redevelopment. And black folks were a part of what was going on, because I've seen it historically, based on what's available right now around downtown. I've seen it, and it was not black folks no more.
Gotcha.
So that was really the true essence of why I said, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, okay, so kind of walk us through now what your plan was and what you're accomplishing, because at that point you're buying it up. So talk to us about, the building up of the South Dallas, the development aspect of it, what you're doing, and how people, is opportunities for people to still get involved, or kind of walk us through that right now.
Yeah, so South Dallas, my vision for South Dallas is this: it is to create a black mecca within the city of Dallas.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is creating a mixed income community, right, where all of our people can be comfortable existing in, right? And so if you think about like back in the day, you think about those neighborhoods, right? In a core neighborhood, you would have Dr. Jones, you have Mrs. So-and-so who was a teacher, and you would have so-and-so that was a business professional, all on the same street, right? And you got that community village to really, you got folks from different socioeconomic backgrounds that were black that, whose kids played together, right?
Same neighborhood.
And that's kind of what happened. But now, if you go anywhere in the city of Dallas, that really doesn't exist, right? And so it's different ends of the spectrum, right? So you got some of the wealthier black folks live in one area, and they push all the broke black folks to a different area, right? But I feel like South Dallas can be the community where both exist and both allow for all of us to really have the sense and the pride of a real and true black community.
Right.
And so I'm talking black businesses, I'm talking about black homeowners. And so the things that I develop goes against or counters a lot of what people from South Dallas think South Dallas should be. And they feel like the only thing that should exist in South Dallas is low income housing. And I don't, right? Because there's a lot of people who grew up in South Dallas who moved to DeSoto, Duncanville, because there's nothing,
Cedar Hill.
or Cedar Hill, because there's nothing available, or there was nothing available there for them to buy and build in. You know what I mean? So I'm creating that, and that's what I'm doing. I'm building homes that are under $200,000. I'm building homes that are at $350,000, right? And so, and everything in between. And it's really to create this balance within the neighborhood, but also allow for everybody's property value to continue to rise, because people want to be where neighborhoods are stabilized, right? We're 6 minutes from downtown, which is businesses and jobs. We got a dope cultural center with the African American Museum and Fair Park and South Dallas Cultural Center. We're a couple minutes from AT&T Performing Arts Center. The only thing we're missing, grocery stores, and those types of things, but it's coming. Right. You know what I mean? And so what I started doing, it literally disrupted some of the city's plans. Okay. And it's because they had to make certain they called me on things because I owned. And, we talk about gentrification and we talk about all of those things, and we don't want gentrification. But when people tell me that, I say, well, what's the alternative? Right. What's the alternative? You want it to stay the same? Because if we build anything next to a dilapidated house, that's considered gentrification by all means. You know what I mean? Right. And so do we want revitalization? Yeah, we can call it that. We can call it whatever you want it. Right. But we need to be the ones doing it. Exactly. And so get your $1,000. You get your home and get his $1,000, and y'all go buy some of this land. Right. And that's what I was telling people to do since 2015. And that was my sell. And I had people from South Dallas like, what? Oh, what you doing that for? One lady asked me, who are you building that house for? And it was in a public forum, so I had to give the political correct answer. Oh, okay. Right? But my answer was, I'm trying to build a community for us. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you can't see that, get out the way. Move to Cedar Hill.
So let me ask you this though: when you're doing this, when does it become like a selfless act? Because you can honestly buy it all up for yourself.
You can.
And develop for yourself, right. But why do you want to give those opportunities, to others? Because you do all types of real estate, so you can really take over everything. Yeah. But you're giving our people opportunities to buy land as well and to join you on these endeavors.
Yeah, so it's lonely at the top, right? But offering people these opportunities that they didn't know existed is really what gives me the joy. Okay. And then you really can't build a community when it's just you, right? While I could have bought everything, and I wish I had a lot of money where I could have done just that, but telling the story and saying, hey, just look at what's going on around us and do what you can to be a part of this. It does. We're last as Black people. We're last in everything. Wealth, education, all we're first in crime in this area. But it's when you offer these type of economic opportunities for people through home ownership, and Black folks there's such a huge percentage of our wealth that's tied to our homes.
Right.
But such a low percentage of black people who actually own homes.
Right.
We have the lowest home ownership rate than we've ever had. We have right now, currently in this 2021 environment, we as black folks have lower home ownership rate than we had in the 60s.
Dang.
And so for me, my mission and my purpose is to make certain that I can help change that.
Right.
And I do that by offering people an opportunity to get in at the lowest level, because I can see, I've been blessed with the gift of, I can see things 20 years in the future when it comes to numbers and all that type of stuff. So if we're in a space where I'm like, yo, buy this for $1,000, in 5 years it's gonna be worth this. Yeah. Now you have the opportunity to say, okay, I'm gonna sell and make my $100,000 and go on and do other things or start the business or all that type of stuff. Or shit, I'm gonna just ride it out until it's worked.
Nah, for sure. But now it's 2021. Those $1,000 opportunities aren't there.
They're not there no more.
So what do you recommend? Somebody like myself. Somebody who wants to get involved but missed all those golden opportunities. Where do you tell somebody like myself to start off at?
Get what you can.
Okay.
The opportunity are not missed. It's just that you're not able to buy at $1,000 anymore, right? It's just like, Bitcoin, which is hot right now, right? If I had known just 5 years ago to buy Bitcoin at a dollar,
right?
People were saying do it, but I wasn't listening, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Now it's in the 40s, so still same thing. Buy it right now wherever you can get it at, but it still has the potential.
It still has the potential, because what I do know, I don't care about none of this virtual reality world, this metaverse. They ain't making no more dirt.
Right.
You know what I mean? And while they're trying to sell all of these computer plots of land, what we're standing on right now, we aren't getting any more of it. And so put your hands on as much of it as you can, especially in growing areas where you can get our people involved, being able to build something that's nice, affordable, that's dope, architecturally amazing, and something that's going to increase in value, because that's what most of our wealth is tied to anyway. So let's help people generate wealth through home ownership. And that's really what I've been doing in South Dallas. You know what I mean? And so, I feel like I was a pioneer in ushering in a lot of this development that's happened, where people from South Dallas, people from Dallas, period, wasn't touching South Dallas.
No, for sure.
And now, right now on my 2 streets that I was really focusing on, there's 10 houses going up right now. 4 of them mine, 6 of them aren't. So
so you've seen the vision you had is coming to fruition. You're starting to see it.
And I'm happy about that, right? It's just that when some folks come in, because some people came in and was like, shoot, I'm about to follow the leader. Right. But they may not have the same purpose, passion, and mission as I do. So you kind of get some folks that just, that just put up whatever, or try to price us out. And so when we control our land, when we control our area, there's no such thing as gentrification, because we control it, and they gotta call us to have a seat at the table. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
that definitely makes sense, man. So what do you say is what does the future look like for you when it comes to as far as developing on everything? Because you've been at this for a minute. So where do you take it?
Yeah. So I realized that we have a lack of representation in the development industry, and so there's not a lot of black developers, right? There's particularly not a lot of black affordable housing developers, which is absolutely insane to me, right? And so most of affordable housing residents are black and brown people. Right. But the people who are developing those things aren't black and brown people. Right. So that's weird as hell, right? And so my whole mission is to really, I've been teaching folks how to do this stuff and kind of giving as much knowledge as I possibly can. So for me, I'm going into there's a couple larger developments that I'm working on within South Dallas. Okay. 32 duplex units that we're gonna sell, making it more affordable. Okay. Houses that if we sold just 2 miles to the east would be $600,000 homes. We're selling it for way less than half of that. Okay. And then I'm actually going into the hospitality industry with this Lake Noir development, because there's not a bunch of black folks that are developing hospitality type things. And so that's one of the things that I'm really excited about. It's a 15-acre retreat where we're doing luxury tiny homes, offering folks the opportunity to rent those out for a few days and enjoy the man-made lake.
What area is it?
It's actually in Oakwood, Texas. Oakwood is about an hour and a half away from Dallas, south of Dallas. So that's gonna be a cool project. With that one in particular, that's gonna be a really large crowd fund. And so when you say, how am I helping and bringing in other people, this is one of the ways, because I'm essentially selling 30% of ownership to the people.
Gotcha.
And so this is truly going to be a development for us.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And by us. And so everything from, obviously I'm the developer, the architect is black. The construction consultant is black. A number of the subcontractors will be black and Mexican or Hispanic, excuse me. But that's one of the things I'm really excited about going into 2022.
So from your research and experience, like how successful is crowdfunding projects? Because you see it, I've seen it with what's his name, Jay Morrison. I've seen other people do it. But from what you've seen, is that like a successful method, or is that just one of the things? It's also convenient for you to give back to the people, but it's proven. Yeah,
so it's successful when it's tied to an actual project, right? So Jay did a catalytic thing in our community. He demonstrated to us that when we put our collective effort, energy, and money together, we can raise a bunch of capital.
Right.
I think he just had too many projects to where he was unable to manage it like he really, really wanted to. And I believe his intentions were pure in that. But there's been some other folks who've done dynamic fundraisers, right? You got Chris Senegal down in Houston, who did a dynamic fundraise, and I invested with him. And then you got another guy out of Baton Rouge, Julian Gordon, who did
he does multifamily units, right?
Yeah, he does the multifamily. He did a pretty dynamic multi-plot fundraise. Reg CF and coupled with some other Regulation D fundraise, crowdfund. So it's successful when it's tied to a project and you have the right team in place to execute it. And so I'd been looking for, I have a number of projects, but I've been looking for a project where I can actually execute a crowdfund and bring the community in, and this was just an opportunity. I initially bought this land, man, to be my hunting land. I hunt, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
And they got boar and turkey and quail and pheasant out there. So I was like, shoot, this is my hunting land. I'm gonna go hunt. But then I was just, I was like, dang, we can do something bigger here. So
cool out there. So let me ask you this, because people are into numbers, bro. So like anytime you can provide value and numbers, is going to intrigue people, and people want to do their own research. So let's just start off with crowdfunding, bro. Like somebody who does do that, it doesn't have to be your specific project, but that you've seen, what are like those returns on investment for like crowdfunding?
Sometimes it differs per project, but those type of projects, crowdfunds, there's typically some type of preferential return, which pretty much means that you get some type of dividend payment, regardless of what the project does.
Quarterly or annually or something.
Right, so it may come in the form of like a mezzanine debt, so it's on your line item as a debt payment, so you're getting your interest payment quarterly or whatever the case may be. Plus, you may have some type of percentage of the profits or percentage of the cash flow or just those types of things. So it depends. So with this particular project, it's an 8% pref return, which means every quarter you get an 8% interest payment on your money, and then 30% of the cash flows goes to the entire fund. So, and this is, of course, after all the debts are paid and the expenses are covered, but it still should be, a high six-figure type of situation that pays out to the fund, obviously. And then when you start looking at, kind of rates of returns and internal rates of return, most investors and savvy investors are looking for anywhere between 15 or high teens to, mid 20s as a return. So we're at about a 24, 25% return collectively. So No, it's gonna be it's a solid investment, right?
Yeah. So man, you've had formal education with it, you have experience, and then of course through your network, the people you're meeting and dealing with, you learn a lot. Where do you suggest people like day one that wants to start getting in real estate but has no idea to get, you know what I'm saying, start? So you have these courses of you know how to get into wholesaling, or you could work with a real estate agent, they can walk you through, but somebody who really wants to go in and dedicate to becoming, you know, starting off as an investor, fix and flips, rentals, then working to developing, building projects, like what education route would you take them in?
Yeah, so real estate is so robust, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's so many gurus, there's so many courses and classes out there. I tell people this all the time. Find you a course or class or whatever the case may be, enroll in it, take the course, and then execute. The execution is key, man.
Right.
Because people will talk about how something didn't work forever. And then I'm like, okay, did you work though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you didn't work, of course it didn't work. Yeah. It's like if I tell you, you know what I mean, something in class, right? If you don't go execute that on the test, you know what I mean, you ain't doing what you need to do, bro. Yeah. So find one of them courses, learn as much as you can, and always be learning. Really. Always be learning. And, you know, I'm 15 years in the game at this point, and I'm constantly learning. I'm working on my PhD right now in real estate development, and so it's something that I'm always doing. I'm never so far outside or into myself that I stop learning, because I can learn something from anybody, right? You just have to have an open mind and realize that you can, right? So that's one, learn. Two, go ahead and pay the money for a mentorship. Right? Just pay the money. It'll save you a lot of time, energy, and effort. Okay. And you won't lose as much. Right? So yeah, that's what I say do, man. If I had to do it all over again, I would have paid a lot more money for a mentor on the front end.
So at this point, are there any black investors or developers within the city of Dallas that you look up to, or, you know, suggest people to follow, you know, saying to learn more or build a relationship with? I know for one that I'm gonna just say, of course, outside of you, is that we held our award show at the Hamptons event venue. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's owned by Mr. Barry Brewer. He's a black guy. Okay. He's also a developer. He actually built the venue himself. Okay. His development company. And one thing he had, one advice he gave in his interview was, he was like, I don't mind mentoring people, but you have to buy the land first. I can't do anything. I can't help you develop if you don't have the land. Get the land, and I can help you build on it. I can help you through the process. Yeah. So basically telling people, show me that you're serious, start, and I'll help you finish. You know what I'm saying?
And see, I appreciate that. But I even feel like there has to be mentorship prior to that, because you'll mess around and buy land wrong. You know, you'll mess around and spend too much on something thinking you can do this, and it's not zoned properly. You don't know where to go to even get a rezone. You know what I'm saying? You just buy the land. And so I think, you know, real estate development, right? And I have to constantly teach people about the difference between development and building, right? Development is the ideation, it's the planning, it's the creating the financial plans, the financial analysis for a vision you may have. Okay. Right? Building is the execution of what the developer had in their mind.
Gotcha.
And so that's the key on all of that, right? And a lot of times people say, I want to be in real estate development. It's like, do you? Because developers don't get paid to the end, right? And the end might not be until 3-4 years later. Shit. You know, you really want to be a developer, or do you want to be a builder?
A builder, yeah. Right? I think people want to be builders.
Right, and you know. So that's a little different. As a developer, we create the plan, we put the pieces to the plan together, including the capital and all that, and then we find a builder to execute that plan.
Gotcha.
And so when you want to go into development, and don't get me wrong, as a developer, you make the most money. Right? I'm talking about the developer fee on a project can be, you know, high 6 figures. I've seen developer fees to, you know, 7-8 figures, right? Okay. But a lot of times you got to wait to the end.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Whereas builders, you know, they got their builder fee, the GC fee, whatever the case may be, through the process.
Gotcha. Okay, so to give a quick blueprint, I buy land here, and I'll just say South Dallas for tomorrow. I buy the land in South Dallas, I pay that fee, right? Now I want to build on it. I'm hiring a builder or I'm hiring a developer?
You hiring a builder.
Hiring a builder. So
you can partner with a developer to help you create a plan for the builder to do.
So I'm hiring a builder, and then the builder works with an architect, or you got to find your own architect?
That's your deal. Right?
So I got to find my own architect to the plans, what I want to build on this land. I pay their fee, which is, what's the estimate fee for?
It depends. A lot of architects charge per square foot.
Okay.
Right. You know, so if it's 1,000 square foot, they may charge you $1.50 per square foot.
Okay, so let's say
$1,500.
Take it to the builder. They say if they can execute it or not, and they charge per square foot as well, right? Okay. Yeah. What's a good estimate for?
Man, you in this environment, you'll pay anywhere between $85 and $100 a square foot.
Okay.
And so your job as the owner developer is figuring out what I can sell this property for once it's built.
Okay.
And so you got to kind of back into it. You
say,
okay, this is how much my builder's going to charge me. These are all of my costs, my architecture fees, the cost of my land, and this is how much I want to profit. Is this going to be a good deal? Right? And so that's kind of the dance that you got to play as a builder. And that's why developing in South Dallas was so complex, because values were so low. But the cost to build was your cost to build is the same south as it is north, right? But it's what we trying to keep these values at.
Gotcha.
When I came there, I felt like South Dallas values were artificially deflated for so many years. And what that does, people thought that was good. I didn't, right? You got these people who bought houses or been living in this area, and their wealth is tied to their homes. And you, in essence, telling these folks that for the past 20 years, you've developed no wealth by owning your real estate. That's wild as hell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's wild as hell. I was about to go on a rant about the city of Dallas, but I'll say that for another episode.
Nah, I got you. So before we get out of here, tell me this, because one thing I salute you for is you're not only doing great things in the community, but you're also making sure that you're talking to the city of Dallas. I feel like a lot of black entrepreneurs, creators, we don't have the wherewithal or the confidence to go in there and actually know what we're talking about, or to ask for what we want, or to get the information. So how important has it been to have that relationship, or not a relationship, but have those conversations with the city to be able to understand what you're planning to do and to move forward? And is that something you recommend people, if they're really going to dive deep into what you're doing, that you have to, really be a part of what the city is going on?
Yeah, so this is the first thing I want to say about that. The city officials in the city, they work for us, right? They work for us. We pay their salary through what we spend on our taxes, right? So that's first and foremost. And so when you have somebody that works for us, and if they're really doing what they need to do, you should be able to confidently, no matter what it is, confidently go in and speak to them about whatever it is that you see here on the streets. So that's first. But secondly, these people don't know what the hell going on either, right? And so find your area of expertise, whether it's real estate, whether it's the arts, whether it's music, whatever it is, find your area of expertise, and you talk about that to whoever you need to talk about that with down at the city. It's young folks have a prime opportunity because everybody is so old right now in all the city official positions, with the exception of a few, but folks are old. And they need us right now. They need us to come in with fresh ideas, with the newness, innovative ideas, and innovative execution that will allow them to push things through. And so I say, stand in your confidence, stand in your purpose, whatever it may be, and go talk to these people who are making decisions about our lives on a daily basis. I tell people this all the time. Our local politicians, this shit's more important right now than what's happening in DC, right? Because they are dictating who gets the new roads. They're dictating where the new street lights go. They're dictating if there's a bike lane or a fixed fucking sidewalk for your kids to ride on the damn sidewalk, you know what I'm saying, with their bikes. Those are the people who are making those decisions. And it could be a small thing like, hey, this 4-block section of road in this area hasn't been fixed in 20 years. And we don't have a working street light on these blocks. can we get that?
Right.
And you get your neighbors to rally around that. And there's areas in South Dallas, specifically my street, that have been, I literally went on Google Maps yesterday and looked at the streets from 2007, where I am, and they hadn't been fixed since 2007. They literally look the same.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's the same. And so those are some of the things we got to say, hey, look, I don't know anything about, you know, building a road, but I know we need a road built, so go figure out how we can get that done. And that's, you know, you just tell them, hey, we need to figure out how to get this in the next bond package. Or y'all got money set aside for this. You're right. For sure. So I say go in it, man, and really just get connected to the city officials and see what it is you need in your area. You know, see past what's right in front of you, right? And understand that a lot of the decisions that you're seeing today were planned 10 years ago. And so if you're thinking about a community that you're living in and what it's gonna look like 10 years from now, go and holler at those folks today, like right now, because city moves slow, government moves slow. So they might pass a bill today, they may pass an ordinance today in the city, but it ain't gonna get implemented until years later. So y'all work hard for that,
That's great, man. Definitely gotta do a part 2, bro.
Man, I got so much more, bro. But
I got such gems, bro. But I'll say this, bro. For this part 1, bro, leave our audience with, bro, with you know, some type of encouragement just to get started. I think that's the hardest part for people, right? Is to get started, man. Or, you know, one piece of advice you wish you would have had early on, you know what I'm saying, to get started. But leave us with, you know, one of those Scottie gems, you know what I'm saying?
I think the most important thing about getting started is mindset and words that you use. You know, stop saying I'm trying to do this.
Guilty.
You know what I mean? Just do, right? OG Yoda from Star Trek said, you know, there is no try, there's only do or not do.
Right.
And so we have to make certain that we're putting in our mind the right things so that our actions match what we say. And subconsciously, we don't realize that our actions do match what we say. It's just that what we're saying might not be the right direction. It might not be the positive stuff. And so take control of your thoughts, really be grounded in what your purpose is, and understand that our biggest resource is our resourcefulness. And that's important. Our biggest resource is our resourcefulness. Lean on the people around you. Ask questions, be inquisitive, and always be learning. So.
Always be learning. I learned a lot today, man. I appreciate you,
brother.
Great conversation, man. I'm sure you guys learned a lot today, a lot of value. Please give the people where to follow you. I know you're really behind the scenes grinding, but I really think that people need to get tapped in with you. Give them the social media.
Tap in with me on Instagram, Scottie L Smith. Real simple, Scottie, Scottie L Smith. I'm the guy with the big smile on the picture, man. So I'm gonna do better with sharing some of this journey. I think, like you said, the people probably will be really interested. But it ain't gonna be no pretty content. It's gonna be real rap raw.
That's what we need. We need it real. We need it raw for real, because you know a lot of stuff has been fabricated. And, you know, a lot of stuff is a facade. This grind is ugly. You know, but it's important to show, man. So appreciate y'all for tuning in and tapping in. Make sure y'all lock in with Scottie Smith. And as always, please continue to live the COSIGN life. Peace.
Hey guys, what's good? Thanks for supporting COSIGN Magazine by watching this video. If you really enjoyed this content, please subscribe, like, comment, and share.